Hi, my name is Yezin Samurai, and I'm the head of Year 1 and 2 Education for MedSoc. This video accompanies the PACS information sheet for tutors. By the end of this session, tutors should be able to prepare the content that's being given out, understand how we would like the content to be delivered, be aware of the importance of rapport building with students, and appreciate what is expected of tutors about concluding and summarizing their session. So let's start with preparation. Thorough preparation is essential. You get to choose how to deliver the content because you're given the worksheets beforehand. So you can be as creative as you like, use as many different teaching styles as you like, so you can get the most out of the session. If you have any problems with the material, make sure to read up on things that you might not remember. And if you have any further problems, make sure to contact the head of tutorials. So just as the question styles are varied, you need to use varied teaching methods to really get to your audience. So we've listed a couple here, and they might be really useful. So one of them is think, pair, share. Think, pair, share is when you get the students to pair up and think with each other for a couple of minutes and then share their answers. And it's a really good way to interact with the quieter students who are less likely to raise their hand. And also it's good to get the discussion flowing. Another way is to get students to get up to the board and draw a diagram, for example. And as you can see in your tutorial worksheets, some of the questions are fill-in-the-blank questions. And what you can do is get every student across on the row to give an answer for each blank. And that's also a useful way to get the discussion flowing. The best way to really interact is to act something out. And it's a lot more difficult, but you can be really creative in what you do. So my favorite example is of a professor who tried to teach his students the inguinal canal. And what he did was to get the students to stand up and pretend to be the walls of the inguinal canal. And he asked and gave them signs. And he asked other students to walk through the canal, or made of students, and pretend to be the structures that pass through it. So that's also quite useful, and so this is your opportunity to really get creative. And also in terms of the way you should approach it is that you should facilitate their learning. And so therefore spoon feeding is not on the cards. You cannot just give them the answer. You need to interact with them. You need to ask them questions. You need to make sure that discussion is flowing well. And you may need to make sure as well that you're keeping to time. So kind of strike the balance between letting the discussion move forward and keeping to the time allotted. Really, if they just get the answers, they can just stay at home. But you need to make sure that they're interacting so that they can remember more out of the session. And the more they interact, the more that they'll consolidate the information that they need to know. So the next point is content. If you think that the content doesn't flow well, you're welcome to change the order, as long as you don't leave any of it out. That said, closure is always better than content. If you're running out of time and you're rushing through the content, always favor an adequate summary time, because that is what's going to stick in your students' minds. Also, make sure to remember that we're here to not to let the students prepare for their exams per se. They're here to help with the consolidation of information. Therefore, you need to make sure not to freak them out. You need to strike a balance between awareness of exams and learning and gaining knowledge as a whole. And the exam stuff will come as a result of that. So the next point is rapport building with your students. So you're a role model for your students, so you need to act like it during the session. We learn teaching styles from our teachers, so you need to be on the ball in this one. So you need to be passionate, engaging, and motivated. If people aren't energetic, it's your duty to get some energy into the room, maybe get them to stand up, shake about, to get the discussion flowing. And through that, try to include all the students. If they're quiet, try to include them by giving everyone a turn, asking questions, but always in a supportive environment. And if students ask you questions that are a bit off topic, if you have time, answer them. If not, tell them you can discuss it after the session, or you can send them an email. And The most important thing is to smile, because that always helps in giving a good vibe to the session. As for your relationship with your students, use the name labels. Call them by name. One of the problems in the early years is feeling anonymous, especially in a year of 300 or more people. We can all feel a bit lost. So we're trying to deal with that here. So really make an effort to learn their names, and if you have another session with them, make it obvious that you remember them, if you do. Learning is a very social experience, and getting to know them will only help with your tutoring style and will make sure that the content sticks into the heads of your students. So, the last point is about closure and proper timekeeping. You only have 1 hour to strike a balance between answering their questions properly and keeping to time. If you really have no time, get their emails, send an email out with any questions that haven't been dealt with. To make sure you keep to time, we've given you a recommended schedule of 5 minutes for introductions, 40 minutes for the case study, 5 minutes for the SBAs, and 10 minutes for summary. And again, closure over content. Students are more likely to remember good summaries than time wasted on rushing through extra material. As for the summary time, the last 10 minutes, this is your time to really shine. First, give feedback. Do not forget to give feedback. This is really important. If there's anything you gain from this video, is to remember to give feedback. So by that, you should tell them what you think of their knowledge, where they should be, what they should read up on, and what they're good at during the session. And give feedback that is relevant to the group in front of you. Don't make it individual, but try and reflect the whole level of knowledge for the group. Afterwards, you can pretty much speak about whatever you want. Your experiences in first year, what kind of things to focus on for exams, tips for studying well, tips about the specific module. And most importantly, try and reassure them and tell them to chill out. Some questions might seem hard now, and it might look overwhelming, but tell them that everyone feels like that, and it's a natural process for them to learn how to deal with it. And finally, tell them to enjoy their first or second year, have fun, and don't stress. To close, a really great way is to ask each person one thing they've learned today, and that will make sure that the content sticks in their heads and they'll go out on a high. So that's our video. I hope by now you'll be able to prepare the content that's being given out, understand how we would like the content to be delivered, be aware of the importance of rapport building with students, and appreciate what is expected of tutors about concluding and summarizing their session. Don't hesitate to contact us. Our details are in the information pack for tutors. Good luck and have fun.